As I was preparing for tonight and deciding what to speak about, I started by writing a list of generalizations, what Schechter meant to me, what it means to my family, and what it means to the whole Jewish community. But very quickly I realized that this was a flawed idea for two reasons. First, who am I to generalize about Schechter? And second, you're all here because you know what Schechter means to you, you know what it means to your families, and you know what it means to the Jewish community of Chicago. And so I decided to take a different approach and just give one detailed example, but show how Schechter in seemingly small ways can have huge impacts on your long-term life. So the story takes place the first week of Michigan. I'm walking out of my dorm to go to class, and one of my friends asked me if I was going to be back for lunch at the cafeteria. And I casually responded I wasn't. I was actually going to lunch with one of my professors at the cafeteria next to her office. And he looked at me confused and just said out loud, "Why would you do that? Aren't you intimidated? Why do you have to know your professor? Can't you just do your work and get by?" And I candidly responded I wasn't actually intimidated at all. I was excited for two reasons. First, I was excited for the teacher to know me and to know where I've come from and what I can bring to her class. And I really attempted all throughout college to have my professors really know who I was. And second, I wanted to know about her. I wanted to know where she came from. I wanted to know how to do well in her class and really how to get a lot out of her class, more than maybe just history or biology, which I never took. And as I look back on this experience and try and figure out what contributed to it, Schechter definitely comes to mind. And specifically, two examples immediately came to my head. The first one's actually about someone who's here, Gvert Orbach. And it's a really good thing that I didn't make up the story, because I didn't realize she was going to be here to tell you that it was true or not. She always would remember when we had basketball games, and always ask in the morning how it went, how I played, how the team played. And she had to remember I was on the team. She had to remember it was a game. She had to know that I waited all day to get out of class, to get onto the court and play. But more importantly than that, she had to care to ask, because even if she knew it all, she doesn't get paid for asking her students what they're doing after class. Her requirement is to teach Talmud. But at the same time, conversing with your professor, getting to know them on a level deeper than just the subject you're learning, definitely adds to the experience, and you can take out of the class way more than if you just learn Talmud. The second story is about Mrs. Bressler. Always pushed me in 7th grade writing. And particularly, I was writing a paper about fighter jets. And I had my, few research books at 7th grade level, and I could have written a perfectly good paper. But she knew that I liked to push myself, that I was driven, really exceed, go beyond what I had to do. And so she encouraged me to ask my dad to drive me down to Rantoul, which is a city a few miles north of Champaign, to this air museum, where I could learn from a few pilots who were there, really about what it meant to fly, I could take pictures and include them in my report. And that's something she didn't have to do it. But because she knew me and knew what I wanted out of my academic life at Schechter, she was able to do that. And it really improved my writing and my research skills, and really it contributed to the fact that I went out of my way and spent significant time and energy getting to know my professors. Now, I don't really think these two stories are outliers. I think they're quite common. The teachers at Schechter genuinely care about their students. They work hard to know their students outside the classroom, and they push them to succeed. Although I realized I probably didn't appreciate the experience much at the time, I must have internalized it enough because it definitely contributed to the fact that I went out of my way to get to know these professors. Even though the professors had at least 10 times the amount of students, and even though most students don't attempt to establish a relationship with the professors. But because I took the initiative, my college experience was improved, and I created really strong ties with many professors who helped me excel in and outside of the classroom. I realize I picked to share only one story with you, and I'm only one graduate, and you can't really extrapolate much out of this. But I'm convinced, as most of you are, that there are thousands of stories like this, small ways in which a school can impact you long into your life. And not all schools do it, but I really believe Schechter did. And I'm convinced of one more thing. For every story that someone can tell you about a way Schechter influenced their life, there's another story that you won't hear, maybe 2 or 3 more, other ways that Schechter influenced people's life in a positive way. Because it's nearly impossible to attribute success to 1 or 2 or even 3 factors. Success is the combination of dozens or even hundreds of small factors that combine in just the right way to lead to a positive result. I'm confident Schechter is one of those factors for many of its successful graduates who may or may not realize it. So I just wanted to thank you all for your roles in making sure experiences like mine continue to happen for years.